and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow Townhall, a series of exclusive conversations that we do across the length and breadth of the country to connect better with you, the entrepreneur, giving you the opportunity to be front and center. Tonight, bringing you all the key takeaways and highlights that we did in Delhi, talking about how Delhi has moved from being the jugaad capital of the country to the startup hub or the startup capital. Pooja Jain, my colleague, moderated that panel discussion with some very interesting takeaways. Take a listen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow Town Hall in one of India's most innovative corridors, New Delhi. To set the tone for the evening, I'd like to invite a very special guest on stage. If you could all please join me in welcoming the Head of Retail Liabilities and Branch Banking with IDFC First Bank, Sumit Madan. Sir, thank you, and please join us. Thank you so much.
The next few minutes, at least, I'll try to take you through what at IDFC we do in terms of how we can really help you in this entire startup ecosystem. I actually, to begin with, quite like the theme of the entire session because all of us understand the word jugaad. I was just trying to understand the word is so familiar that at times we forget the definition of what really a jugaad is. So I was just talking to my team also that when you talk about jugaad, what really comes to your mind? And what really comes to mind are some very interesting examples across of how we as Indians have really mastered the art. Then I thought, okay, let me check the definition of jugaad, how really Oxford or any other dictionary defines it. And it's a very interesting definition of the term jugaad. I'll just read it out. Jugaad, for example, is a flexible approach to problem solving that uses limited resources in the most innovative way. And I think that's really what we all do in our day-to-day lives. If you look at the success of India's ecosystem, whether it's MSMEs and now in the entire startup space, I think jugaad is a word which really stays with us. But it's nothing more than really making use of the most optimal resources in the most judicious way. And I think we at IDFC just try to partner you all in the most optimal manner, therefore. Me and my team is here for all the support in terms of all the queries. I think you should not view IDFC first as any of the bank as such. You should view us more as a fintech company because today, for example, the fintech term has gotten associated with a lot of nimbleness in the market. So when you talk to any of the fintech players, they always say we are more nimble. And I just keep telling them that imagine a scenario if the banks start taking that route. Because then, of course, that's the spiel that everyone seems to be using these days. But happy to be here. Of course, like Pooja mentioned, my name is Sumit Madan. I am the country head for liabilities and the entire branch banking system for India. I'm based out of Mumbai, but more importantly, I am from Delhi, born and brought up in Delhi. So I understand this entire space exceptionally well. Happy to be back to the land where I was born. It's always good to be back here. And when you travel across the country, you really meet individuals in the Delhis and the Mumbais or the Guwahatis or the Shillongs. The only thing which is bringing everything together when you talk to everyone is really the entire ecosystem, which is startup. I think there's a lot of excitement around startup in various parts of the country. No state, no city is an exception to it. Even when you go to some of the really small places, you see a lot of buzz around it. I'm not sure how many of you heard this place called Loon Karan sir. So we recently went to Loon Karan sir. Agar aap Google karenge, it's called the peanut capital of the country. So in terms of the moongfali production, it's amongst the largest markets in India. It's a small town in Rajasthan, village or town, whatever you want to call it. But its entire system is just buzzing. The younger population, for example, is talking about startup and how this entire peanut business can really go global, which already it is, but to a large extent, how it can even more efficiently move global by just changing in terms of few processes, few ecosystems, so on and so forth. So I think there's a lot of buzz which is happening, but more importantly, there's a lot of thinking which is happening on how just to not take things for granted, how just to change things, whether it's a product or a process or a technology or an innovation, everyone seems to be talking about it. We are no exception. So I just want to quickly run you through a few things that we are doing at IDFC just to make the ecosystem very strong. Needless to say, our punchline always says, always you first. Now, there are a lot of companies which talk about various punchlines. always you first is more like a religion for us. We are probably amongst the very few banks in the country which really leads by example as far as the motto of always you first is concerned. Even in terms of product, the way we've designed it, and if you talk to our MD and CEO, Mr. V. Vaidyanathan, he always keeps saying that we have to think like the customers. One of the first things, and we are the first commercial bank in the country to change this, we are the only bank which actually offers you monthly interest on your savings account. So far, for example, you obviously know that you pay your EMIs monthly. So whether it's your housing loan, auto loan, so on and so forth, the EMI that you pay is monthly. That's an outflow from your pocket. But the inflow on your savings account, in terms of the interest that you get, none of the banks actually pay it on a monthly basis. We are the first and the only commercial large bank to give a monthly interest payout, which obviously is kind of an addition to your pocket, which makes sense. If you look at some of the other products, as far as cards is concerned, credit card, we are the bank probably with the lowest interest in the market as far as cards is concerned. If you look at the interest, for example, and just food for thought, you all have debit card or credit card in your pockets and in your accounts. Once you go back, just try and understand how much of savings account rate of interest do you really get on your account, and then compare with what IDFC is offering. Similarly, as far as credit card is concerned, once you go back, if you revolve the money, then please try and understand how much is the rate of interest that you pay on that, and then of course take a look at what IDFC really charges you. It's again one of the very few banks which says that whatever reward points you earn, as far as your credit card is concerned, the reward points will never expire. Again, my request, once you go back, please check as far as your credit card is concerned, is this really true or not true? So on and so forth. So for example, even as far as the app is concerned, we are the only bank in the country which actually has an integrated app between the current account and the savings account, which again is a great value addition for all our dear MSME customers. So again, to cut a long story short, there's a lot of innovation which is happening as far as the products, processes are concerned, as far as IDFC Bank is concerned. We've been getting a lot of awards for our digital innovation. And again, as far as any award in the country is concerned, in terms of the mobile banking or the net banking, you'll find IDFC first up there. Some of the points we've discussed here, so I will not really repeat it, but I just want to leave this slide with you just to provoke some thoughts as far as the products of the IDFC first are concerned in comparison to whichever bank, whichever product you're using. Coming to the entire ecosystem, as far as the country is concerned, there's a lot of action happening. And again, we were discussing with the team in the morning that everyone is waiting for Virat Kohli's elusive century to happen, but India's ecosystem in terms of unicorns has already hit a number of 100. So we are the third largest country now as far as the entire unicorn space is concerned, of course after US and China. And the way we are pacing up, estimates say that in the next 5 to 6 years, we should actually be able to beat some of these countries. So US, for example, at least the estimate says we should be able to beat them in the 6 years period from here on. That's the kind of action which is happening. And when people like me travel all across the country, you really feel probably even 6 years is going to be too long a time. We can actually do it much earlier than that. Delhi, of course, as part of the Economic Survey 21-22, which was released, Delhi, of course, is now the new startup capital for the country, overtaking, of course, some of the older cousins in this space like Bangalore as a case in point. The MSME space, which of course all of you really largely represent, is again something which is becoming more and more important in the entire team and entire space for us. If you look at the entire MSME space, we again have customized solutions as far as the entire space is concerned. I keep on discussing with my team because, you know, one of the biggest challenges we now face, not only at a bank level, but when we meet clients across, is actually getting the right person. Hiring has become such a big challenge these days. And when you talk to your teams, I often tell them that imagine a scenario that you're somewhere in the outer space. You're somewhere at Mars, for example, and suddenly a wish is granted to you that tell me where do you want to be born in this entire planet Earth. And when you look at the 193 UN recognized countries in the world, if you really go step by step, there are not many countries where professionally you can really have growth. So when you talk to the teams on the ground, for example, they can say that, sir, London mein hote to quality of life hota, air bahut saaf hoti. But when you really get into the professional reasons of being born at a place, and you really look at, for example, Europe, not much growth is happening right now. When you look at US, for example, we all know the kind of challenges US is also going through. Some of the smaller countries, by the way, are doing exceptionally well, but those smaller countries with lesser population, the growth may also be for a very limited period of time. India, China, some of these countries are the places where the growth is most sustainable in nature. Now, China, given the way the share economy works, the way the government works, and many people still believe that China is well past its purple patch. If you really look at the 193 countries, and when you go back, I would suggest everyone should do this exercise, especially with young kids, you will really understand that in the 193 countries, a very dispassionate analysis, assuming we are not born in India, a very dispassionate analysis, if you go through all the 193 countries, you will understand that for the next 5, 10, 15 years, this is the place to be. As far as professional growth is concerned, there is no better place than India. When I talk to my team, for example, I often tell them that this is probably amongst the best times to be in the financial industry. It could be a bank, it could be a mutual fund, it could be an insurance company, it could be a fintech setup, whichever company or whichever industry you belong to. It's a great time to be a part of the entire financial ecosystem because there is just so much of action happening. Traditional methods are being displaced by now, of course, the newer methods. UPI, for example, has been a game changer not only in India, but many countries are now taking India's help to adapt to the entire UPI kind of a payment mechanism. As far as the solution and the bank is concerned, we can match any of the big banks in terms of product, solution, quality manpower, and the dedicated attention that we can give to your corporate. With those words, Pooja, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be a part of this event because we learn more, lot more. And I always keep telling my team that the best way to learn is just to interact with clients like you because those are the ones where we get the real problem to build the right solution. So thank you very much.
I'll step into a short break. On that note, we're back in just a moment. Welcome back here with us on Leaders of Tomorrow Town Hall.
All right, Ravi. Well, to kick off the conversation, all right, as I mentioned earlier, there is no one-size-fits-all formula to securing one's financial future. So what has worked for you?
See, what I have realized, this is one of the most important profession which we are practicing. And at the same time, I mean, somebody told me the fear of death, where it arises from your mind, from where the fear of losing money arises. So finance is something which is a very, not only the critical matter, but at the same time, if whether you are a businessman, whether you are starting the business, if it does not manage the funds, then in that case, even the best of the idea can go in vain. On that perspective, when we started this company, I mean the Fincart.com, it's a financial advisory company which purely deals into advising people how to manage the finance optimally. So story in 2013 we've started it, and our vision was targeting people who could not able to access the good quality of the advice. So if you look at the industry demographic, I mean, the HNI, ultra HNI segment, where the people has a capability of investing 5 crore or more than 5 crore, those get a good quality advisors. I mean, the people who can be looking for you and not giving you only the product-based investments. But the majority of the audience, I mean, let's look at the ITR number. This year, approximately 7 crore people has been filed ITR, okay? Out of which, 5 crore ITR was less than 5 lakh, okay? Now, anybody who is earning less than 5 lakh rupees, technically imagine they does not have that much of accessibility of the information and the good quality of the people. We listen the real problem to build the right solution. So that's what we are into it.
Well, I have a follow-up question for you there. It may seem obvious, but I think many of us have a difficult time straddling investing versus savings in terms of figuring out what's the most sound financial strategy. I believe it's a very sophisticated process, but there is a way to simplify it.
So saving is the first habit, and then converting into the investments will further optimize the value of it. And I refer with one of the interesting study of it. It says if any individual could able to save 30% of his income, okay, which means that you could able to achieve your goals in your working time frame. Imagine it, you started at 25 and retired at 60. But the same 30% guys start doing investments. And when I say investments, basically nothing but beating the inflation. I mean, if you have got 6% inflation, technically how you can outperforming the inflation. Then the same goal can be get achieved the half of the time. So we talk about early retirement, financial freedom. Subsequently, if anybody start saving 50% of his income, which means that, and plus the investment, you could able to achieve all your goals possibly in less than 10-year time horizon.
Well, speaking of time, at what age and stage in one's personal journey or professional journey do they need to keep a tab on things like their credit score? And what are very tangible steps that can assure them that they'll be, in a well-positioned should they seek out a loan in the future?
So, what I realized, the credit history, the CIBIL and taking the loan, it's a very fashioning word. See, when we use the credit card, what credit cards does with you? Kya karta hai? I mean, if I ask anybody, what credit cards make you feel? I feel it gives you a lot of empowerment. Okay, it's allow you to buy something today which you might not be able to afford today. So there is a famous dialogue of movie, the great power comes with a lot of responsibility. So it can go against in any of the individuals. So if you are using the credit limit and if you are not paying on time, the ripple impact could be very severe. Okay, the data suggests if anybody has EMI to income ratio, I mean if you have earning 100 rupees and your EMI is more than 30 rupees, okay, EMI to income ratio is more than 30 rupees, most likely he could not able to achieve all his goals. So it's a big concern. So whenever you get it, we always educate a lot of our clients and especially the new millennial for just starting the job. If you are getting these kind of facility, you should make sure that your 30% saving ratio should not be get impacted. 1. 2, even if you are borrowing something, do the mathematics whether it is falling in your limit or not. 3rd, you should be pay on time.
Well, Ravi, a follow-up question there, because when it comes to credit cards, I think consumers are often very enticed with the rewards aspect of credit cards, but redeeming those rewards can oftentimes be cumbersome, and so much is lost in transaction and lost in translation. What's the solution?
See, reward, basically what you spend, you will be getting it. And I am completely with you. And in fact, when you raised the question, it is back in my mind. I have also not utilized my reward point from so many years. So you will find a very common challenge in that. Because yet time we are so much of busy in our daily schedule that we could not get a time to look at. One, even we are getting a time to look at, then we don't have a patience to stick on following certain operational procedures. So what I have realized I think this problem needs to be get solved from both the side, maybe on the bank side as well, on the consumer side as well. On bank side, I don't know what stopped a lot of banks to link that reward only with the net banking or maybe some easy process by sending email and all.
Okay, well, I believe that's a wonderful note upon which to open up the floor for Q&A. If there is any Q&A for Ravi, then please let us know. Good evening, sir, and what is your name?
Very good evening for the entire program and this great panel on the dais.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ravi, you were mentioning about having finances at higher rate of interest and trying to rotate them. So I'm slightly unclear. Pooja had been mentioning fintech. Are you a company or you are just educating us about managing the finances? Number one. Number two, how easy it is to get your higher ROI loans to be rotated to a lower ROI loans, and if you are running a company, if you could help in that. Thank you.
Okay, so we run the company. It's a Fincart Finvest Private Limited, and we are into this business from the last 9 years, and we got a 4 branch: Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, and Bangalore, and entire virtual advice. We don't meet clients; everything is over the phone. Answering your question on this is the very common challenges which we face this time. So, before you get into it anything, whether it is a loan or the investment, the first thing you need to answer yourself: what is the money you are paying, and what is the money you are generating? Okay. So, any investment should not be made on the cost of paying high EMIs and high interest rate to anybody, whether it's a bank or the lender.
So with that, Ravi, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and for those wonderful takeaways and nuggets of wisdom. Thank you so much.
That's all in part 1. But as we're ending today, here's a quick look at what we have lined up on part 2 of the Leaders of Tomorrow Town Hall.
I think from a mix perspective, Delhi NCR was best suited to sort of give rise to startups across diverse sectors. And early on, most of the wave that came in the technology space.
Delhi NCR and the whole of North is the consumption capital of this country, especially in the luxury and the premium space.
You would see a lot of new companies that are, let's say, new concepts that are being tried out for the first time, maybe in Delhi NCR, enabled a lot by maybe government actions that are happening. And when you look at NCR, it's also like you're looking at 3 different states who are trying to push things.
Completely out of time on the Leaders of Tomorrow Town Hall. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to know where we're headed to next and what we're going to be discussing in our town hall, all of those details on our website, the details of which are coming up as I speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.